Had a great rhythm to it. I appreciate our choir, all the work they do to bring us such great music. What I'd like for you to do right now while the choir's finding seats out here, please stand and just say hello to each other. Wish everybody a happy new year. Happy New Year. I feel like I lost control here. Oh, it's so good to have good Christian friendship. Judy, I'm so sorry. I was looking right at you and forgot to mention you during prayer time, but we do have you in our prayers, so I'm glad you're here this morning, Judy. New Year's is coming up and all the New Year's traditions we run into. And I had to do a little research on how people around the world celebrate New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, welcoming it in. And I looked at some of those things and I thought, boy, it's funny things what those people in other countries do. And as soon as I said that, I realized people in other countries are probably looking at what us Americans do and saying, boy, it's funny things what them Americans do during their New Year's Eve celebrations. I think one of ours that's most unusual is always making sure you kiss somebody right at midnight. I put out a strong caution. Make sure that is your spouse or somebody very close to you. You could run into a lot of trouble there. Another thing we have in America is in the Deep South, down in Dixie. We got any Deep South people here? Oh, we got a few. Okay, down there, what do you have to eat on New Year's Day? Black eyed peas. I think they call that hoppin' john. Isn't that the word they use down there? You eat black eyed peas to bring prosperity for the new year. I think one of the traditions has it that the peas represent coins somehow, and there's the hidden wealth in there. So make sure you're eating black eyed peas on New Year's Day. Now, down in Mexico, and especially in Brazil, here's one of the big customs they have. It depends upon having colorful underwear. And I was wondering if I should even bring this up, but I know I'm already committed to this one. So I had to read the rest of that article, and it depends what color you wear. Remember, this is Brazil. Okay, let that image fill your head. If you wear red underwear on New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, that means you got in the coming year love and romance. Red for love and romance. Yellow means prosperity and success. White means peace and harmony. Green represents health and well-being. Now, I want you to know this is hard for me because I'm leaving behind about 24 jokes I can make about the colors of your underwear that you wear. Over in Spain, they've got a challenging one there. When the clock strikes 12, you need to have 12 grapes in front of you. And as soon as the clock strikes 12, you eat a grape. And then as soon as it brings the second time, you eat the second grape, and then the third grape. Now, excuse me, doesn't the clock chime every second? You're eating those grapes pretty fast. And I read one site that had a strategy for it. Said what you do is just take one bite and swallow in order to get 12 grapes down that fast. So anyway, I don't encourage you to try that, but just let you know what they do in Spain. In the Philippines, I like this one too, polka dots. You got to wear polka dots something. If people are from Brazil, move to Philippines, I assume it's polka dot underwear, so they can satisfy both of these. But all the traditions we get into to assure we've got a good year coming up and looking forward with good vision. Well, the same thing happened is so true with Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a prophet long ago in the Old Testament. He was a man that God gave a great vision to. And he was to look upon this great vision, this great lesson, and to discover his faith. The questions keep coming to him. Ezekiel, what do you see? What do you make of this? How does this come to you? And it's all about building up faith, looking forward to the future, and seeing that there's reason to have faith in our future, even when things might look rather bleak. Well, if you have your Bibles, his story is in the book that bears his name, Ezekiel, chapter 37. And I'm sure you're familiar with this chapter. It's the vision he has of the dry bones that come to life. Well, let's read this story. It's also in your bulletin, and it'll be up here on the walls as well. Let's read Ezekiel's story. Now the hand of the Lord was upon me, as Ezekiel records his experience, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley, and it was full of bones. And he led me back and forth among them. And I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. And he asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I said, Sovereign Lord, you alone know. And then he said to me, Prophesy to these bones and say to them, Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you and make flesh come upon you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life, and then you will know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. And I looked. The tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. And then he said to me, Prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, Son of man, and say to it, This is what the sovereign Lord says. Come, breath from the four winds, and bring into these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath entered them. They came to life and stood up on their feet, a vast army. And then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say, Our bones are dried up, and our hope is gone. We are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, This is what the sovereign Lord says. My people, I am going to open up your graves and bring you up from them. I'll bring you back to the land of Israel. And then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord. When I open up your graves and bring you up from them, I will put my spirit in you, and you will live. And I will settle you in your own land. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken, and I have done it, declares the Lord. And may God add power to the reading of this word, that it takes on new life to us today and new challenge to build our faith. I have a good discipline. I try to refine it every week. When I'm working on the sermon, whatever that is, to bring myself into that story, to try to identify with the characters in the story. This week I tried to put myself in the place of Ezekiel. What would that feel like? What would that be like? That God is taking me away and brings me into this valley and has me walk around. And he brings me to one end of the valley, to the other end of the valley. And then he asks me a question. What do you see? And I could say, well, I'm looking around here and I'm seeing, holy cow, look at all these bones. Bones are everywhere. Was there a battle here? Were all these people slain and their bodies were left to the vultures? And now there's just all these bones. And there's many bones. And the bones have all dried out. What a helpless situation that is. How awful. What a grisly place. In the old Jewish laws, Levitical priest code, that you must not come into contact with human bones or you're defiled. You can't join into the religious festivities. It's a problem. Well, Ezekiel is there in the middle of this valley, in the middle of all these defiled bones, all these dried up bones, and trying to make sense out of all of this. See, he is a prophet during the time of the exile. He has been swept away to the foreign land of Babylon, and the Jews have been brought into exile with him. Now, he prophesies, he does his work at the same time as Jeremiah. But Jeremiah has stayed in Israel with the Jews there. And Jeremiah is making great prophecies, a prophecy of hope, that which we read during our call to worship. And at the same time Jeremiah is in Israel, Ezekiel is far away in a foreign country, working with the people there. They've lost their hope. They're wondering, we've been here so long. We're homesick. We miss our country. We miss our heritage. Will we ever be able to go back again? Some of the Psalms are written during this time, and they're Psalms of lament. They're very sad. Talking about the blues. Boy, some of these Psalms are blues music through and through. One of these Psalms is so sad. It comes up in the play Godspell. And the people are calling to them, the people of Babylon, hey, you Jews, why don't you sing to us some of your songs? They're not so happy now, are they, that you're so far away from home? One of the Psalms has it, we took our harps and we cast them into the trees. How can we sing happy songs? We can't sing any songs of our homeland. We can't sing any songs of patriotism. We cannot sing any of these songs of joy. We've lost our homes. We're homeless. We're left out. And the people are caught in a foreign land, and they have no more hope. Hope is such a vital thing. Without it, we find such loss. Jean-Paul Sartre, sometimes he's pronounced Sartre, the same philosopher. He was one of these existentialists that could not find hope, and he found atheism instead. He wrote words like this, man can count on no one but himself. He is alone, abandoned on earth in the midst of his infinite responsibilities without help, with no other aim than the one he sets himself, with no other destiny than the one he forgets for himself on this earth. Oh, wouldn't you like to have lunch with Sartre? Wouldn't he be a great guy to spend time with? There's no hope in his life. How can he find the hope that's so important? He's lost it. He's not found his happiness. Hope. When we lose that, how painful it is. It happens through discouragement. We just get tired of things and get so discouraged. I read an interesting story about a man taking a walk one day and came into a neighborhood and found yard sales. And he found one yard sale was interesting, and he didn't recognize hardly anything here. And he realized this was the devil's yard sale. And he started picking up these different items, and on one item it had the word hatred, and another was jealousy, deceit, lying, pride, all these things that the devil uses against us. And he picked up one other item and looked underneath and had the word discouragement. And he thought, well, what is that all about? And at that, the devil came running out of the house and said, oh, wait, that's not for sale, my mistake. I can't give that one up. That's my most valuable tool that I use against humanity. See, when I find people and I try these different tools, jealousy and hatred, lying, deceit, all these things, I can often break them down. But if they hold up to those, this tool will finally do it. I start applying discouragement on them. Soon they lose their hope, and soon I have my way with them, and I can pull them down. Oh, discouragement, lack of hope, how vulnerable we are in the world when discouragement takes its toll. And that's what's happened to the people in exile. That's who Ezekiel is prophesying to. How can we bring them back together? And so God shows Ezekiel this great lesson in the valley. It's something like a parable, if you will, what Jesus teaches the people that listen to him. And the Lord brings Ezekiel into the valley, all of these bones, and begins to say words to Ezekiel that are a bit perplexing. Ezekiel, prophesy to these bones and start preaching to them. What would you do in that case? Ezekiel, start preaching to these dead bones. See what you can do with them. And just start preaching to them. And Ezekiel starts preaching to the dead bones. I'm not sure what his sermon was about, but he just started preaching anyway. And as he's prophesying, as he's preaching to these dead bones all around him, guess what happens? Something straight out of Halloween. The bones start moving. He hears a noise. He hears a rattling sound. The bones start coming together, bone to bone. Ligaments start forming on the bones to hold them together. Flesh starts coming together. Tissue starts coming together. Skin forms on all of these bones that are coming together. Now, at this point, when I tried to put myself in the place of Ezekiel, I didn't stick around to see the tendons. As soon as those bones started moving, I was headed for the hills. I'm not going to stick around for this anymore. But the bodies come together, but they're lifeless. Nothing is in them. They don't have the Spirit in them. They're still dead. They don't have life. In 2 Timothy, Paul writes it this way: they have a form of godliness. They look like they're godly, but they deny the power. Nothing is going on inside of them yet. And God continues to give these incredible commands to Ezekiel, what he has to keep on doing. It seems so hopeless to him, but Ezekiel's faithful. I love the way Charles Allen put it. When you say a situation or a person is hopeless, do you realize you are slamming the door in the face of God? God loves doing the impossible, and he loves doing it to make it very clear that he is the one that is doing it. Notice after he gives commands to Ezekiel, he always wraps it up by saying, and then they will know who I am. Then they will know that I am God. When they see these things are done that they had no power whatsoever to do, then they'll know who is God here. They'll know who I am. Ezekiel prophesies and calls to the breath, the winds, come, fill up these corpses here. Do what you can, O wind. And the breath of God comes upon them, just like from the Garden of Eden all over again. In the very beginning of creation, the breath fills them and they come to life. Ezekiel says it was like a vast army. All of these people are rallied up again. And God says, this is the way it will be. This is for the people of faith, that they will rise up and become a great army for God. They will return to their homeland and they will find revival. They will come back to life again. Oh, what a grand prophecy. This comes to Ezekiel. And I'm glad he was faithful and didn't run away when it seemed to get so scary. He stuck around to see the end of it, to see that it takes persistence. It takes faith to not give up, and to see that situations may be against us. But when we have faith, we can overcome those things if we don't give up. I enjoy reading the stories of great spiritual people. And John Wesley has some diary entries here, and it's a bit comical the way he puts it together, but he's got a great point that he brings to us. May 5, Sunday morning, John Wesley writes, I preached in St. Anne's and was asked not to come back anymore. May 5, Sunday evening, I preached at St. John's, and the deacons got together and said, get out and stay out. May 12, Sunday morning, I preached at St. Jude's. Can't go back there either. May 19, Sunday morning, I preached at St. somebody else's. The deacons got together, called a special meeting, and I can't go back there either. May 19, Sunday evening, I preached on the street, and I was kicked off the streets. May 26, Sunday morning, I preached in the meadow, and I was chased out of the meadows as a bull was turned loose during the service. June 2, I preached out at the edge of town, and I was kicked off the highway. June 2, Sunday evening, I preached in a pasture, and 10,000 people came out to hear me preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. Persistence, to not give up, to be struck down, and to get back up again. I was reading about Walter Payton in football, his great achievement. So many miles he put together, I think 9.5 miles of rushing yards, all these records he kept breaking. And on a Monday night football game, someone was quick to point out, rushed for 9 miles in his life. And don't forget, that's being knocked down every 4.6 yards. But to get up again and to keep going and to not give up. That persistence pays off. That is the nature of faith. That's what it takes for faith. Do you have that kind of faith? Looking into a new year, that faith infuses the church and it brings it alive. It gives the church passion. I love reading this one from an old time ago from the Deep South, I believe it was. It goes like this. A church that has passion is a church where discouraged folks cheer up, dishonest folks fees up, sour folks sweeten up, closed folk open up, gossipers shut up, conflicted folks make up, sleeping folks wake up, lukewarm folk fire up, dry bones shake up, and pew potatoes stand up. But most of all, Christ, the Savior of the entire world, is lifted up. That's what the breath of God does to us, to raise us up. We look into the new year. The church faces challenges, as many churches do. How will we face these challenges? Will we say, never mind, I give up? Or will we have faith? That's what God is always seeking when He comes to people. That's always the question. Do you have faith? Will you do what I call you to do? Will you rise up? When Jesus talked to His disciples, He explained it this way, that the disciples were making plenty of failures as they were learning, and they often fell on their face, and they would ask Jesus, what did we do wrong? And Jesus always was quick to point out, it's because you have so little faith. In the Gospel of Matthew, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. When people have faith, they wake up, they rise up, they come to life. They find new strength, they find new courage, they find strong backbones, and they're willing to step out and say, yes, Lord, with you by our side, we can accomplish miraculous things.